What's happening, everybody? Welcome to the lab. I'm your host, Joshua Diaz. Good to see you. Hello, hello. How does the audio sound out there? Is it sounding good? I can never tell. Sometimes I can. Probably sounds bad. It goes down a little too fast. We got a special show for you tonight because we have a legend in the house. What's happening, Mr. Chris Mcdonough? Good to see you. Good to be here.
What's up, lab rats? What's up, world?
We love when you're here. It's always so nice. How are you?
I'm doing great, bud.
By the way,
thank you for the invite. How are the Giants doing?
Not good. Actually, they're losing right now. Thank you for bringing that up.
What?
And they've also lost. I believe they've lost 4 in a row. So
who are they playing? Arizona? What? Who?
Yeah, they're playing Arizona. Yeah. We're gonna win tonight, though.
You think?
No, probably not.
Close your eyes, buddy. Pray.
I'm really hoping. I'm hoping because it's starting to get depressing. But yeah, well, whatever. It'll be okay. By the way, fantastic show on Sunday, and also the Sunday before with the Gonzalez family, and you guys are just doing really great work. And
Christy and Steve are special people, that's for sure.
Yeah. And I finally just I think it was last night or the night before, I finally watched the new Dateline, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But what an explosive episode. Greg Cooper, Dr. Gary, just doing great. You're contributing a lot on that show, and it was pretty fantastic to see the Cold Case Foundation front and center on Dateline, because the Cold Case Foundation is a very special program, willing to help in many situations.
Yeah, and they talked about a lot of different podcasts, but we know there were over 60 podcasts on his phone, and of course TIR was one of them. There was all kinds of different channels, and but Dateline played what they play, and everybody got some great publicity out of it for them. But the bottom line was he'd been monitoring just about every true crime channel you could think of.
Right, and that's kind of sort of typical.
I think maybe even the lab. So
yeah, well, like I said, it is very indicative of guys like that. They really, especially I started to see all the Googling, the name, his name, and Bundy and all this other stuff, and we'll get into that. But what an explosive episode that was. So
yeah, I can't wait to talk about it with you later.
Yeah, so it'll be good. Hold on a second. Who's in a barrel here? Me? Oh, I don't know. So I was just making sure the sound was okay. Yeah, so anyway, there's a case. Now I know you're not Canadian, but you like hockey, so that kind of counts, right?
That's right.
And our neighbors to the north, they have a pretty high profile case going on right now. Couple young kids, Jack and Lily, 4 and 6 years old, have vanished off their property. And obviously there's a lot of speculation and a lot of rumors and a lot of finger pointing. Now, let's just say that so far nothing has been verified except that the children are missing, and it's been 11 days. Now, once again, we find ourselves kind of in a similar spot with a lot of these cases where the children go missing. The Canadian police believe, or they say that they believe, that the children possibly wandered off, and that but they're not ruling out any foul play or suspicious activity. And the parents are saying that they think that there was a possible abduction. I'm going to play some clips, but first of all, I want to just show you, because you're uninitiated to this case, correct?
Yeah, I don't know anything about what you're talking about.
You're just learning about it right now, which is
right now.
I like that aspect of it as well. So,
okay, where's it at? First of all,
Nova Scotia.
Okay, so
Pictou County, I believe.
What county?
Pictou, I believe.
Okay,
I don't know. I don't know if I pronounced that correct or not, but so this is the. Let me just make. So this is Jack and Lily. Lily is 6 years old. Jack is 4. Okay. And they go missing. I believe it was the 2nd of May. I believe. But it's been 11 days. And I'll get the Pictou. Okay, Pictou. People are very sticklers for that kind of stuff. I apologize. I don't speak French very well. I'd like to. All right. So here's the property where they went missing from in Nova Scotia. Initial thoughts on the property.
Well, it looks like Don and Candace's vacation rental.
Yeah.
Very similar.
I mean, that sort of jumped off the page to me as well.
Well, it's contained. I mean, you see various fences. Can you zoom in to the top by any way?
Right here?
Yeah, but to the trash bin up by the, looks like a river bed up there where all the trash is.
Let me see here.
Is that possible?
Oh, we're going to find out together.
Okay. Oops.
Maybe not.
Maybe.
Let me see if there's a better picture here.
There you go. Oh, okay. Almost. Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I have a.
That's all right.
Better photo of it. But what do you look? What catches your eye?
I wanted to see that ravine area up there, and the garbage up there.
Back here.
Yeah, back there. All that area.
Okay. So basically, the story, or the story that's been given, is that Jack and Lily. Okay, so the week that they went missing, Monday they were at school, Tuesday possibly at school, Wednesday was a public holiday, so nobody knows, that was the first of the month, I believe. Okay. And then not sure, they weren't at school on Thursday and reported missing Friday morning. Can somebody tell me the time that they were reported missing? And we're going to play some clips here, so we will get a little bit more information to Chris, but I cannot remember the time that they went missing, but they were reported missing fairly early, I believe. Yeah, that's what I thought, 10 a.m. So 10 a.m. was when they were thought to be reported missing. However, the mother of the 2 children says that they were sleeping, and that that they were in bed, and that they possibly went out through that front sliding door, which they said was silent. Okay. They said they can't hear that door when it opens. And somebody saying it turns out it was 8 a.m. I don't know if is that dispatch says 8 a.m. Okay. So dispatch says 8 a.m. but reported at 10. So it seems like there's at least a 2-hour gap here. Now, personally, I find the whole thing leading up, the Wednesday off and then Thursday, that Lily didn't go to school because of a cough, but Jack also stayed home. Then the very next day they go missing. So nobody has really put eyes on them since Wednesday, other than, close, immediate family. And it's suspicious to say the least, but let me give you a little context here. And then just tell me when you want me to stop.
For those 2 missing children. And today the RCMP announced a significant and concerning change.
Oh, I also forgot to tell you that I believe it was last week they scaled back the search, which happens a lot. And this as somebody who has searched for children many, many times. I remember your very first case that you ever got, you told me about, was a missing child case, Leticia Hernandez. So, this is kind of something that you've dealt with in the past.
The search is being scaled back.
Based on the experts and the review of the facts, the inclement weather, the time frames, and their age, the likelihood that they're alive right now is very low.
We're transitioning from a full-scale search to searches of more specific spaces that have already been searched by our teams. We want to circle back to increase the probability that all clues have been found. And when transitioning from an active search to a scaled-back search, the probability of survival is taken into consideration. I want to assure you that our missing persons investigation continues. We're not packing up, and we're not giving up.
6-year-old Lily Sullivan and her 4-year-old brother Jack were reported missing last Friday. Police received a 911 call that they had wandered away from their home in northeastern Nova Scotia. The search is taking place in a Pictou County community called Lansdowne Station. It's about an hour and a half northeast of Halifax. Searchers have covered an area roughly the size of downtown Halifax. About 160 people have taken part, and they've used helicopters and drones. This is a heavily wooded area with many downed trees from that hurricane that blew through in 2022. CBC's Nicholas Sagan joins us now from just outside the search area. And I know you've been there since Monday. You've been asking police questions throughout about their investigation. How has their tone changed in the way they're talking about this case?
Well, Ian, today they basically announced that the search and rescue portion of the operation is over. They've had hundreds of highly trained search and rescue volunteers from across Nova Scotia and some from New Brunswick. They've been working 12-hour shifts, working through the night, and those people are being sent home at the end of the day today. So RCMP are actually going to take over the search. They said they're going to be searching areas that have already been searched, and they're looking for clues or things that may have been missed. So the tone did change today. Throughout the last few days, they've been saying that they don't have any evidence to support that there has been any foul play. They've been saying they think the kids just wandered off from their house. But today they mentioned suspicion for the first time. They said this case is being considered suspicious, but they said all missing persons cases are considered suspicious until the investigation leads.
What do you think about that? What do you, I mean, just kind of throwing that in there. So at first they say, that they believe that they wandered off. And by the way, in my personal opinion, it is possible that these children did wander off. My issue with it is that after 11 days, you think that you would have something. I'm not a search and rescue expert, but I've followed many cases where search and rescue is involved, and a lot of kids do go missing and typically are found within the first 24 hours, sometimes a couple days later. And I've seen a lot of those cases where they turn out okay. The kid spends an awful night in the woods. I remember vaguely one where a dog was protecting the child overnight. And but 11 days. Hi, buddy. I believe we're at 11 days. And now they bring up the possibility of, that there's some suspicious activity, or that they believe it's suspicious. Do you think that that's maybe like a signal, or they're just keeping all possibilities open? When I mean signal, I mean like, look, we're not really buying what you're selling here.
Yeah, right. I mean, the soggy bread syndrome, as I call it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Selling. Exactly. That's kind of what I thought of. It's
So with today's technology, I mean, you can throw some drones up pretty quickly, and get a heat signature around those woods pretty fast. They recently found a young little boy, who had wandered 4.5 miles away from his house.
sure.
They hit him they found him on a drone. So the fact that they've been, they're pulling back now, to your question, yeah, that's a huge red flag. Now, in a situation like this, you have to do, very specific victimology in relationship to what are the family dynamics, what's going on in the family, what's the mother's relationship, how many children are there in total, how many are there in total?
3 children in the home, but it gets rather complicated because they have an 18-month-old. The mother has left the home. Now it's been reported that her family was accusing the boyfriend, and we'll see the boyfriend part of his interview because he does speak a little bit.
Let me go back to there's an 18-month-old at home.
Yes. So these 2 children are hers. There's a biological father who's on house arrest that is somewhere else.
Okay. What's he on house arrest for?
I'm not exactly sure, but they're not really talking much about him. What they are, it's a stepfather. He's the stepfather of the 2 children, Lily and Jack, and they have, somebody said, a 16-month-old together. Okay. The mother is no longer at the house. She's gone. Allegedly, she was asked to leave by the mother, the property owner, the grandmother of the kids, because her family was pointing fingers at the stepfather. So
the mother left.
Yes, she was asked to leave. Correct.
So grandmother says, leave him. And she left.
Yeah. The stepdad's mother. Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So her parents came to get her and took her somewhere else.
But her 2 kids are missing.
Her 2 kids are missing. So
probably the only house that they know.
Correct. And she left with the baby, from what I've heard.
Okay.
And the stepdad does have 2 other children that did not live in that house.
Yeah, I mean, just put that in the big red flag category.
The bio dad not in the pic at all, which is true.
Okay. So you got a stepdad, bio mom, 3 kids. 1 of the children belongs to stepdad. 2 children belong to different father.
Correct.
Mom has decided to leave after her kids walk out the door, allegedly.
That's not exactly how it was presented, that she was allegedly forced off the property, told to leave by the mother. Now, and by the mother-in-law or whatever. They're not married, but they're common law. So forgive my choice of words. Anyway, so that's sort of the long and short, and we can get into it. And that's another thing. So we've heard this too. Supposedly she was told to leave by CPS. I don't know if CPS would do that. I don't know anything about Canadian CPS. I don't know anything about Canadian law, but I did hear that there was a fight or a disagreement, and that she was asked to leave because her family was pointing fingers at stepdad. And we'll see stepdad here in just a minute.
Leads them to think differently.
Family.
They live in that trailer.
Okay, so that's the stepdad's mom in that trailer in the back.
Bio mother to leave.
Okay.
Today, they all
With her grandchild, by the way, the 16.
This is a little fort here.
also confirmed that RCMP Major Crimes Unit has been involved in this investigation since Saturday. Here's what the officer in charge of major crimes had to say.
When it comes to a missing person, we have to automatically consider are there people that have different charter implications and things like that? So we will automatically start to consider what evidence is pointing us towards a suspicious in nature. Again, I can't comment more than that, but every missing person case.
By the way, this is the information, and I'll put this up too. And I want to make sure that everybody knows that this is alleged, that allegedly CPS has the 16-month-old. But I want to tell you this kid, they have this thing locked down so tight. There's other than the initial information, nothing really has leaked, other than what has been initially reported. Now there is speculation and there is rumor and innuendo and all that kind of stuff. So it's really hard to get a grasp on this, but I had a local call into the show the other day and said that, this was the first of the month. It was a it was a payday, and that there was an alleged party or get together on that Wednesday evening, which was a public holiday. So that happens. I think, I don't know. I'm not sure. It's just been a rumor that's been going around. I don't know if it's true or not.
And Thursday, the kids don't go to school.
They do not go to school because Lily has
at least a 6-year-old.
Neither went to school.
Okay.
Lily had a cough, but Jack stayed as well. Very next day, reported missing. Dispatch said 8, reported at around 10.
Same process.
Not a public holiday, just a teacher's. Okay. Well, no school that day.
A methodical collection and review of information with decisions based on that.
And so the father of these two children, Lily and Jack, the stepfather of these two children, has told us that he has had his home searched, his phone searched, and that he and his family have been interviewed by Major Crimes. We asked RCMP if they could confirm this, and we haven't heard back about that.
Yeah, it's such a delicate kind of investigation to do, because you have, the parents who are going through not knowing where their kids are, and at the same time, how do police deal with the family as they go through their investigation? So in terms of the stepfather, how has he been reacting to today's update?
So he's been speaking with us every day, speaking with lots of media every day, trying to get the word out, making pleas to the community for people to come forward, because he has been saying that he thinks this is an abduction. He's been calling for an Amber Alert to be sent out. He's been calling for checkpoints at the...
That's another thing. There was no Amber Alert because it doesn't fit the criteria of an Amber Alert situation.
Border and at the airports. I asked RCMP about that today, if they have any new information that could lead them to think it's an abduction. They wouldn't comment on that and said there's no information that can be publicly released. So the stepdad today is, he said he's exhausted. He said he's still holding out hope, but he had a briefing and they told him about the change in the search, and here's what he had to say about that.
Okay, so you're going to get to hear from stepdad here.
Well, I know they can't go forever. I mean, there's search and rescue workers searchers that have already been injured. They've spent so much resources. I mean, resources doesn't matter at this point, but I mean, everybody's tired. There's some people that I don't think they even went home.
By the way, I'm not laughing, but it's deja vu.
Yeah.
Who does that sound like to a T?
If you put them next to each other, they're carbon copies.
I'm going to. I'm going to make a video about it, but it's crazy.
Okay,
You know, I
first
remember
of
when
all-
John was like, they were dragging their legs, and some of them ain't even went home.
Okay, first of all, he's worried about the searchers and
Yeah.
their well-being.
Correct.
Okay. The last time I checked, there's a 6-year-old and a 4-year-old out there. And he's worried about somebody limping in from searching for the 6 and the 4-year-old. Okay, so that's a transfer of non-incidental behavior, i.e., shouldn't you be worrying about you limping because you're tired of looking for your kids, or stepkids, or so that right there is a absolute 100%. You know, this is an interesting dynamic with social media and the power of these platforms. And I would submit to you that a lot of these suspects or subjects learn from others. And they watch how, these things kind of unfold because, if you think about it, go back and play exactly what he said again. Can you do that, Josh? Is that possible?
Injured.
Okay,
The
go back.
stepdad today is, he said he's exhausted. He said he's still holding out hope, but he had a briefing and they told him about the change in the search, and here's what he had to say about that.
Well, I know they can't go forever. I mean, there's search and rescue workers searchers that have already been injured. They've spent so much resources. I mean, resources doesn't matter at this point, but I mean, everybody's tired. There's some people that I don't think they even went home.
Stop. Okay.
And the stepfather's been
What, did you hear one word about the kids?
No, I didn't actually.
Everything was about the resources, and he's worried about the well-being of the researchers, of the searchers.
Yeah.
Okay. That, again, it's this, mask that he's wearing. He knows more than what he's telling you. And I will tell you that from the get-go. That's the first time I've seen the guy. But just from that little 30-second soundbite, there's more to this story. What do you have other stuff on him?
Yeah, I have.
Go ahead. I don't want to get ahead of you.
been saying that his family has been out searching around the area every day.
Nicola, thank you very much for your reporting. All right, well, let's get some more on this from Robert Parker. He's the warden of Pictou County. Robert, thank you very much for joining us late in the evening. And after 6 days of searching, the RCMP says they're going to be scaling back. What does that tell you about the status of the search?
Well, thank you, Ian. But the searchers have searched really hard for 6 full days. They've combed that area back and forth. They had dogs, they had drones, they had helicopters. People around here, I think, are generally in agreement that.
Chris, can I just say something really quick? And this is what kind of comes to my mind here. Look, I don't think, and God forbid that I'd ever be in any position like this. But if I had a bunch of people out searching for my kids or stepkids or kid, and I was the one that did something with them, if I was responsible and I knew more and I wasn't telling, and I had all these people out breaking their backs looking for my children, I might say something similar to that as well.
Sure. That's what Don said.
Yes, he did.
I mean,
They've done
remember, he hypothetically, okay, let's just look at the two cases that we're thinking about here, right? When everything that Don said was away from him. Okay. And he was concerned about, and he thanked everybody. You know, he brought the Lord into the picture. Okay. I mean, all the other stuff, right? But Candace kept her mouth shut for the most part.
Yeah, well, mom has done one like 20-second little thing, but she's not talking anymore.
Okay. So now let's just, put this package together and overlay them. You've got the stepdad out there who is concerned after 6 days with the well-being of those people who are searching for the kids. Okay. And when you compare and contrast, the mother leaves the situation. She's out of the picture. Okay. Well, Grandis left too. She left almost immediately. And Candace, got, that whole situation started to unwind. But here we are years later, and some are still missing. And I haven't left the house. Personally, I haven't left the house. I don't think Summer Wells got up and walked away at all in any way, shape, or form. And I've said it 1,000 times.
Well, see, here's the difference between the two stories. They said that Summer was in the basement, right?
Yeah.
And that nobody saw her leave. She wouldn't go out that front door. Now you're going to hear a little bit of that as well. They're not the kind of kids to do this or to do that. And, we've heard that a lot of the stuff kind of.
And Summer was afraid to go outside because of the bears and the animals. Remember?
Yeah, I do.
Everything they could possibly do to find these two little ones. And so it's not a surprise today to anybody. I don't think that this has been scaled back. We knew we're going to have to accept this sooner or later, and today was the day. And I think the words of Staff Sergeant Curtis McKinnon there saying, "We're not going away. We're not going to give up until we bring little Jack and little Lily home." I think that means a lot to people, that they're still going to keep looking for these little ones until they bring them home.
Yeah. Boy, have you had a chance to speak with the family?
No, I have not. I know the mother is in another part of the province with her family, and I tried to stay out of the way, to tell you the truth, Ian, because as a county council, our job is to provide funding to the search and rescue teams, to the RCMP, to the firefighters, and then let the experts do their job, and they've done it well.
Such a grueling thing to go through, the sort of alarm being raised, the people who have just jumped in and worked so hard, involved in this search under some really difficult conditions, as I understand it, and now hearing that the search is being scaled back because little chance that these kids have survived if they are out there in the woods. What impact is this having on your community?
Look, if these two children did wander off, and the parents were sleeping, and being what I would consider that neglectful. Okay. Just, there's no two ways about it. If you're not getting up with your 4-year-old and your 6-year-old, I don't even like when my dogs are making a bunch of noise in the living room. I don't, they can't be trusted. They're little kids. They can't watch themselves. Right. If they wandered off, there's almost no chance that they would be alive out there in the woods. 11 days later.
72 hours is a real problem. Especially look at not these guys, well, they are, but look at the searchers. They're all in long sleeve jackets. It's raining. I mean, what's the temperature in the evening? What does that drop? How fast does hypothermia set in? You have a 4-year-old who's going to go quicker because of body mass. You're going to have a 6-year-old who's going to be able to think cognitively a little bit better than the 4-year-old. But, we call it there's what they call the 3-hour rule, right? You have within 3 hours of basically finding a child. If and statistically, if that child's not found within that 3-hour period, and if it's an abduction, there's a high probability that life expectancy goes down. Now, is that the rule? No. There have been children that have been, kidnapped and held for, years and years, and they appear later on. But statistically, those odds are very low. There's a lot more that if they were kidnapped, hypothetically, they walked out of the house, as the parents are reporting, and a stranger came by and said, "Oh, look, 2 kids, let's snatch them both."
Right.
And that in of itself is an anomaly. Okay.
It's
Kidnapping
very, very rare.
Very rare.
Very.
We
And
have
you,
Go ahead.
you saw the map earlier. Like, there's nobody out there.
Yeah.
Not saying it couldn't happen, but it's rare.
Yeah, the kids, there are some kids that will survive. Okay. Of course, there always are, but in a scenario like this, with so many people in the woods who are familiar with those environments as well, the odds of them finding the children go way up, not down. And so whenever you don't find somebody, now you have to start concentrating from above ground to below ground. So you'll see the shift in the dynamics. You can bring in some types of, radar that, ground penetrating radar. You can look for anomalies over the yard, and you can see what type of dirts and geographical profiling situation where you want to look for, what's been disturbed, what's been moved, et cetera. And so that's probably where they're shifting.
Yeah, and true cowgirl says, tell Chris how they're like 40 miles from anything, way more rural than Ben Hill. And Ben Hill Road is very rural, but I mean, this is the absolute sticks.
Yeah.
And
that's the problem. Because if they did wander, I'm assuming there's going to be also, consideration of animals, bears, bobcats, lions, mountain lions, or whatever's out there. I don't know what's out there, but I'm assuming there's going to be a large.
there's like grizzly bears, elk, pretty much everything. I mean, it's.
But you're going to see evidence of that, and those searchers will find evidence of that.
Right. And that's the other part is that, and I know people would say that, that some are wandered off or that it may be an animal, God forbid. Don't you, I mean, there would be something to that. Don't you think? Like there would be, Eric earlier in the chat said not one shred of clothing. Allegedly they had a backpack, rubber boots on. And we'll hear about that as well. But to not
kids had a rubber backpack and boots.
Allegedly, the young girl had a backpack on.
And who reported that?
Stepdad.
How did he know that?
I don't know.
I thought he was sleeping.
I guess he said it was just missing.
So he assumes the kids have it?
I believe so.
I mean, look at the trash in that yard. Can he tell me what else is missing?
Probably not.
Yeah, I mean, look at so look at the environment here for a moment. Okay, you have two controlled environments there. You have one over by the motorhome with the green fence. You have the yard here with the playground, etc. But then you have an uncontrolled environment. Why is that significant? Because that's the fort that's off-site that they showed. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So at what are the parameters for the children to play at that fort? Meaning, what are the rules of engagement from the parents to the children, for lack of a better term? Okay. What are the kids allowed to do outside of the supervision of any adult at that fort? So that's one of the things I would want to know as an investigator. And I want to hear what the parents have to say.
Yeah. And I'm being lambasted in the chat. People telling me that there are no grizzly bears in Nova Scotia. There are black bears in Nova Scotia.
Do black bears eat other things?
Yeah, grizzly bears are kind of apex predators, like they're just
black bears will eat you too, I bet.
I would imagine. Well, look, there's a million scenarios. You come across cubs. There's a million different things. But for the record, from the locals, there are no grizzly bears. Okay, just want to make it clear.
Okay.
I don't know. I've never been to Nova Scotia.
I have relatives up there, the Dingwell family, from my mother's side, my dad's side.
I've covered a case out of Nova Scotia. Dylan Ealer.
Anybody know the Dingwell family? They're my relatives.
The Dingwell family.
Dingwell. On my dad's side, my grandmother's side.
Interesting.
My grandmother's maiden name is Dingwell.
I like that name.
There's not a conversation takes place in this county where it doesn't very quickly go to the little ones and, people's thoughts.
I think in Whistle While You Lurk says, I'm dying for Chris to know grandma and uncle lived in the camper. Did I mention that? I did mention that to you, correct?
This is surprise me some more.
You're learning
on what might have or could have happened and all of that. But there's an old saying, that it takes a village to raise a child. Well, right now, all of Pictou County is that village. And we feel like we've seen the faces on TV and we've seen so much that we feel like these children are ours, all of Pictou County.
So they're marking evidence there.
And then, of course, every time there's a situation like this, and this is not...
want to go, they're going to go back and check that, double check.
They're gridding it out.
Unique to Pictou County, there'll be all kinds of...
And by the way, I heard that even the searchers were having trouble navigating through the woods. And these are professional searchers. It's treacherous terrain. Got a local here that says that we should go to Nova Scotia. Amazing people, fresh lobster, and so many. Canada is beautiful. There's no doubt about that. Have you been to Canada before, Chris?
Yes, I have. Vancouver. My son played for the MCHL,
That's what I sort of
Canadian Hockey League.
You're a hockey guy.
He played Junior A, Canadian Junior A hockey.
Yeah, hockey is
allegations, rumors, and I'm not asking you about the content of those, but what I am curious about is how do you deal with that when you know that people are kind of asking questions and feel like they have the answers? Yeah, how do you respond to that?
Well, I think, Ian, it's human nature to, when they've done so much to find these little ones and it's not happening, it's human nature to say, well, what did happen? And
that's exactly correct. I mean, this is 11 days later. Like, I get it. The first couple of days, you're holding out hope. Yes, they could have wandered away. Hopefully they're found alive. And just as it drones on and on and on with nothing. And I hear there are people that go, don't blame the parents. I'm not necessarily blaming the parents, but I'm saying, how do you go 11 days with nothing that they just ran off? But once again, remember that the parents are pushing abduction.
And suspicions arise and whatnot. I think as long as people keep in mind not to be nasty and not to be mean and not to say things that may have no truth to
go back
them at all. It's human nature to say, well, what did happen? And suspicions arise and whatnot. I think as long as people keep in mind not to be nasty and not to be mean and not to say things that may...
Okay, so this is significant, even though it looks insignificant. What's significant about this?
This photo right here?
Yeah, this fort, this environment.
I don't know.
Well, right. The first thing we have to recognize is it's a secondary place that is off of the control boundary. Okay? They have the green fence, they have all the other fence, and everything is fenced in, right? So the kids play outside the fenced area. Exactly, Kaylee.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And now we have water in this fort. Okay. Well, what does that mean? That water bottle came probably from the house. Okay. So that's my question earlier. What are the rules with a 6-year-old? Let's just use Lily. Is that a hair, thing that she would, put her hair in? What are these two other red things there off to the left? I don't know. We'd have to zoom in a little bit closer.
Maybe they're markers. Maybe they marked them.
I don't know.
I don't either.
Okay. But the water bottle is significant because that tells us, okay, that somebody or someone has said, take water when you're playing, or they're in there playing with them and they have water. Okay, so is this a child fort, or is this an area that somebody could take a child for other reasons? I don't know. Okay. But I would want to know everything I could about this environment, as stupid as that sounds, because if you get to a situation where you're talking to somebody and there's been some foul play involved here, okay, yeah, one of the things you'd want to know is, so tell me about the fort outside. And those are the kind of questions, when you throw that at somebody with jeopardy internally, they're not expecting that question. They're expecting to answer the question about the house, about the yard, about the environment. Okay. But I want to know about this, because I've seen too many cases where children are taken to controlled environments, i.e. under stairwells, in the backyard. Remember, these guys that are problematic for children or parents or whoever, okay, don't necessarily always do it right there on the spot in the house. Okay. They create secondary environments. And this would be what could potentially be considered a secondary environment. Because the news caught this. The news went up to this little tree line here, and it's obviously not made by a 6-year-old or a 4-year-old. Okay. So who's making this? Is it the stepdad? Is it the uncle? Who is it that's making this? I mean, pull back again. It's somewhat of a sophisticated, place.
Yeah, no, not to be wise, but and
I think
as
they're
long
making
as
a
people
mini shelter outside of the control boundaries for the children. Look at that. There's no kid that made that. No 4-year-old, no 6-year-old. So, okay, who's the adult that's making this thing hypothetically, or the teenager or whatever? Who's in the environment around these children that's making this secondary environment?
Yeah.
And then the next question is, why?
And also, and then if you go look here, they have, it looks like they have it, somewhat fenced in. But if you look, I mean, there's humongous gaps in that fence. Wouldn't be they say that, the father or the mother, I can't remember which one, the stepfather, says that, that they're not the kind of kids that would just go outside without supervision or something along those lines. I mean, I don't believe that this would be their first time getting outside of the compound, if you could call it, or if you would call it that. And like you said, like you just look, it's a very unkempt. I have nothing, I'm not saying anything about their, their status financially or anything like that. People live in the houses that they live in. But I mean, this to me would indicate that these toys are outside of look at the toys in the front yard. They're not all fenced in. Everything's not all fenced in that the children are playing with. And then, when you go back to this, this is off the beaten path.
Well, it doesn't look right. DLR.
Wish we could have got what is that right there? Like something like that.
Right. That doesn't look right.
What the hell is that thing?
It's
right?
I don't know. It looks like some kind of bullpen of some sort.
Maybe for an animal. I don't know.
Yeah, who knows, right? It could be for an animal, but the other thing is definitely some type of shelter. Okay. And so somebody has made this. And so the question is, okay, well, why did you make this thing? Well, we got cows, we got dogs, we got horses, whatever. So I made a pen. Okay, sounds reasonable. What about this over here, this shelter? Who made that? Oh, Uncle Bobby made it. Okay, why? Why did he make this? And by the way, what is this? Is this a girl scrunchie here? A little girl scrunchie from the hair? Yeah. How'd this get here? Why is it here? Oh, she plays in here. Really? Unsupervised or supervised? You see where that type of questioning can go?
Sure, of course.
Okay, so while everybody's focusing on the house, sometimes you miss the obvious. I can't, how many cases have you heard where they have discovered victims tied up in, containers in the back of homes, in the backyard? Right? You get to these ranches and there's girls chained inside of these bunkers almost. Yeah. That's an anomaly. And that's why whenever these types of things happen, you start looking for the things that just don't look right. Even within the disorganization of what could look right, what looks right in that disorganization, the fencing, that looks correct, i.e. they're trying to contain something. Okay. And then, you start thinking outside of the box then. Okay. Well, if you go back to the trailer, why is the mattress out there and that piece of metal torn down underneath the trailer? What's going on with that? And these are the kind of things you can just kind of start thinking through. Okay, where did this mattress come from? What if you heard somebody say it came from the shelter? Why? Go, Uncle Bobby rests out there. Now, that's not the case, obviously.
Right.
We don't know that. But you'll be surprised what people will say because they don't realize they're saying it because there's a guilty conscience of some sort.
Let me play this for you really quick.
Yeah. This guy here, they woke up in the middle of the night.
The guy on TV?
Yeah.
On the screen here?
Oh, yeah.
I'm out here still searching, still fighting to try to find them. That's all I can do.
The message is still, if anyone knows anything.
If anybody knows anything, just come forward as soon as possible.
He parroted. He parroted what the question was.
Yeah, they
two little kids are still out there.
Gave him the answer.
Go back. Yeah, he parroted. This was not an original thought process.
No, and he picked up on it immediately. And really quick, Allison, thank you so much for your super chat. Black bears don't typically act aggressively towards humans. I expect a coyote would be a threat. I know some dingwells.
There you go.
There's your answer.
Those are my relatives.
That's all I can do.
The message is still, if anyone knows anything.
If anybody knows anything, just come forward as soon as possible. 2 little kids are still out there. I want to find them. That's really all I can do. Still searching every day. I'm waiting for information. I have to let them do a lot of their stuff with the aircrafts and everything else.
Who does that sound like?
Who else said that?
Dawn.
They got to do their thing. Okay. And we don't want to get in the vault. We want to thank them, and we'll see her on the resurrection. I can't wait till that shows up here somewhere. I'm teasing.
And dogs.
I know.
And searchers. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be coordinated, and I can't just go running through the woods. I want to, but I just can't right now because
Dawn said that as well. It's eerie. It really is.
the search is just so far out.
I was really hesitant, at first to say, that this reminds me of something, and it somewhat reminds me of a little bit of the Orson and Orson West case where the 2 little boys went missing, and I was really hesitant to say that, yeah, this reminds me of the Summer Wells case, but how can you deny it? Now, let's go back here. Once again, Chris, everybody appreciates you being here and doing this. It's
thanks for inviting me. I'm glad this is something new.
What's refreshing is that you've done this stuff before. You've been a part of this for years, and so it's nice to hear your opinion because you're not just shooting in the dark. You know what this is. StreamYard sucks, by the way.
And whatnot. I think
It drives me nuts, dude.
as long as people keep in mind,
I will play the mother's interview. We're getting there.
not to be nasty and not to be mean and not to say things that may have no truth to them at all.
Why would they put a marker?
That's very hurtful, and that can hurt a lot of people. I just keep
We
reminding
certainly don't want to
people
worry
that,
about their feelings.
keep it within your.
Say that again.
Yeah, you certainly don't want to hurt anybody's feelings.
Self if you have some thoughts, or you and your partner or whatever, but don't go spreading it online and in public when you don't know whether it's true or not. You can just hurt a lot of people. What we all need to remember at this time is be kind to each other, be kind to the family, not saying things that you don't know whether they're true or not.
Yeah, but just worry about the searchers and make sure that they're, by the way, God bless those people that do that, the tireless, work. And by the way, how disheartening for those searchers to be sent home. They put everything into it that they have, and I get it. But if I'm a parent, I'm less concerned about their well-being and the well-being of my children. And I'm begging them, please don't stop. I know that it hurts. I know that you please keep looking, not, they look tired. Well, of course they look tired. They're searching in the woods for kids. Of course they're going to be tired, but this is what they do. They're doing the Lord's work.
Yeah, really wise counsel, Warden. Thank you very much for speaking with us tonight.
Okay, so let's play this one for you here.
What is this one?
This is when they talk about scaling back, but also there's another short interview with the stepfather.
6 days after 6-year-old Lily Sullivan and 4-year-old Jack Sullivan disappeared from their home in rural northeastern Nova Scotia, the RCMP announced today their search for the 2 siblings is being scaled back, saying there's little chance they are alive. The CBC's Blair Rhodes joins us now live from the search area in Pictou County with the latest. Blair.
Tom, the mood here was solemn as the searchers were told that despite their best efforts, they were scaling back the search. Before the news conference, RCMP told Jack and Lily's family, their stepfather, Daniel Martel, said he's not giving up.
I'm still holding out hope. I don't know why they didn't find anything from Jack's pull-up to her backpack or any belongings at all. They just haven't found anything.
Now, while the family may have some hope, the police
Okay,
say
stop. Play that again for me.
before the news conference, he told Jack
And if you're up there in Nova Scotia, have this guy fix his hat next
Daniel
time.
Martel said he's not giving up. Scaling back the search before the
I mean, I think it's one of those they just say, here, put this on. Here you go, buddy. Put this hat on.
news conference,
Represent.
RCMP told Jack and Lily's family, their stepfather, Daniel Martel, said he's not giving up.
They're cute. They're cute children, man. It's so sad because
Look at the bruise on his left chin.
See it.
See that on the little boy?
Yeah, I
Go
saw,
back.
I
You
did.
saw that?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I'm still holding out hope. I don't know why they didn't find anything from Jack's pull-up to her,
Okay,
to her
stop.
backpack or.
Okay, there's an expectation right from the get-go that when he starts this interview, he is expecting that there would be a result of something. Okay. Because he says, I don't know why. Okay. As in, he's projecting it as a true statement, yet he's shaking his head no.
Right.
So his subconscious mind is saying, well, this is a bunch of garbage, but I'm going to pretend like it's real. Go back again.
Why they didn't find anything.
See how he's shaking his head?
I'm still holding out hope. I don't know why they didn't find anything from Jack's pull-up to her backpack or any belongings
Jack's pull-up. She's talking about like a diaper,
at all.
right? Or
Yeah. So how does he know
what he's
in a
talking
pull-up?
about?
Is that what he's saying?
I mean, is that what he's referring to? The pull-up as a diaper? Is that what he's talking? I don't know if that's what he's
No,
talking.
that's what he's saying.
Hold on 1 second. Chris, are there common places kids are found in situations when they actually did leave the house on their own?
Well, it all depends on the age, right? Anywhere from, when teenagers run away or disappear or walk away, after arguments with their families, that they can be found anywhere. Okay. Typically they run to their friends, social media contacts, that type of situation. But when you have 4 to 6 year olds, you're going to find them. I mean, if they did walk out of the house, obviously the first question is, why did they walk out of the house? Okay, so you want to get to that as quickly as possible, and you have 3 hours to do it. So that's why looking at these assessments quickly, like just watching this and going, why is he doing this? Okay, and talking about, now a pull-up on a 4-year-old. So are you telling me he's got a diaper on? Okay, so if I was interviewing this guy, I'd be doing this. And I'd be taking notes about, okay, kid has a pull-up, ? Meaning I'm going to ask him in a controlled environment. Hey, how did you know he had a pull-up on? I thought you were sleeping. Well, I put a pull-up on him the night before. Okay, then how do you know it would need to be changed? Well, that's our routine, yada, yada. And you just keep gonna, make common sense make sense, right? And you notice he's all slick for the news.
I noticed that. When I first talked about that, I saw that he put a hair gel on, nice little undershirt with a chain. Yeah, he looks fresh and clean. I don't know. I mean,
oh, what's that projection? What's he projecting?
That he's a clean cut, good father.
He's control. It's control. He's controlling his appearance. Whereas you take that first one, he had no control. Okay? But now he's realizing time's going on. I have to change a projection. It's getting worse and worse and worse the longer it takes. So he's got a clean shirt on now. He's got a gold chain on now. He's probably shaved. He got a haircut, put hair gel in.
I noticed the gel right away.
Okay. Most parents or most people that are involved in this type of stuff, their hygiene actually goes the opposite direction.
And you know this from experience.
Well, yeah, and you see it in people because they start to fall apart. They start to melt. Look at Candace and Dawn in some of the interviews. Okay, they started to go the other way.
Yes.
Okay. Well, what's weighing them down? In this situation, he may not be the primary guy. It may be the mother. I don't know yet. I haven't seen the mom yet.
Yeah, we'll get to it.
But if I look at the grandmother or there's an uncle you said that's also on the property?
Uncle and grandma or step grandma, his mother. So that's his brother that lives out back with mom.
Okay, so the brother of this guy lives out back with the mother.
Correct.
And what's his story?
Nobody really knows. Just a lot of quietness about that situation. I know that locals are talking that a lot of people feel that there's something there, but I don't know.
Okay.
I don't really know what his deal is. Does he have a rap sheet? Let's see here. Here's a good, people with a clean cut outer look don't have trash everywhere in the yard.
That's a great point, Julie.
They just haven't found anything.
Now, while the family may have some hope, the police say that after 6 days of often extreme conditions, the children were still in the woods.
You know why they
wouldn't be
have
alive.
hope potentially? That could be an indication they know where they are. They have hope because they know where the children could be. Now, it doesn't mean they're alive or they're dead. Doesn't mean that.
Just means that they
could be projecting. Well, we still have hope. Okay, hope in what? What are you hoping for? I mean, what's that hope? What's it grounded in?
Right.
It's certainly not grounded in the environment. There wasn't a hope for the future for these children. Just look at their environment. You have a motorhome with a piece of plastic on the roof with a bunch of wood holding that plastic down for when it rains and it leaks.
Yeah, and the other thing too, and I saw, I believe it was Sense of Soul that was in here, one of the members of the channel. When we were talking about blame and not blame, I mean, the fact of the matter is, if they were asleep and their children did get out, I mean, it's their fault.
Well, what time did the children get reported missing? 10 a.m., 8 a.m.,
10. But the dispatch said that it was reported that they hadn't seen him since 8, I believe. So they took 2 hours allegedly but Chris, I'm not even convinced, and this is just me thinking out loud in pure speculation. I'm not even convinced that that's when they actually went missing that morning.
Yeah, you've got 24, almost 36 hours.
Yeah, so I mean, you have Monday school, Tuesday seems like the bus driver saw them that day, Wednesday holiday, Thursday no school, Friday reported missing.
Right, so you got all day Thursday and
all day
Wednesday or Thursday, yeah, and then you've got a little in the middle. So you got all kinds of room here. The children could have been transported off site somewhere. You don't know. We don't know.
These searchers and the police could be days behind by the time they get the call. And that is why I think that he is apologizing to them, because, I mean, once again, just speculation. I don't know.
It's a good point.
But I would think that they're days behind. And I felt that way since the first time I heard this story, that, the week leading up to it is just Yeah, they could have been missing for 48 hours before a phone call ever came in.
They said it came down to a question of survivability.
And a number of factors would have to take consideration, and they would, based upon scientific information that they have, to deem when is that time.
By the way, when they say this, when they say, if they're out there, we don't believe that they would be alive. They just might not even believe that they're even out there, or that they were ever out there at this point after that thorough search. Now, that could they have missed them? Of course. But I don't think, it's starting to feel like to me that they don't even think that they were out there.
Well, this is also a psychological positioning with the parents. There's a lot of thought process that goes behind a statement like this to the public. Because what they're doing is they're projecting to the parents, we aren't convinced the children are alive. And so now that has a psychological effect on the parents. What do you mean? What are you saying? That my children are not alive? What's going on here? Why would you say that? And that may be the response they're looking for. Instead, you get the response of everybody sitting back in the investigation going, let's see how they do. And what did they do? You've got the stepdad slicked up, not saying, hey, the cop said my kids are gone. They're dead.
Right.
What kind of reaction are they getting there?
Can somebody can a mod in the chat put the mother's interview? When I look for it, it's a lot of commentary for other people that are doing that. I just want to play that. If anybody knows where it is, could I please get it?
Yeah, and mom, what's mom's reaction after this?
She's pretty nonchalant, man.
But wouldn't she want to be in front of the cameras?
I found it. Thank you. I got it.
Wouldn't she want to be in front of the public and the environment saying, hey, wait a minute. No, my children are not gone. We're going to find them. Okay. That, there would be this pushback on the authorities.
The cops didn't say they were dead. What they said was that the likelihood of them being alive is which is the same thing. And so basically what they're saying is if we believe your story and what you're telling us, and this is how it happened, and that they did wander off in the woods, even though the parents are now saying that it's a possible abduction, we don't believe that they'd be alive, and they wouldn't be alive if they did wander off out in the woods 11 days later. I mean, it would just be almost impossible.
But you see psychologically what they did, and the RCMP has some really good behavioral analysts. Okay. And they are very good at what they do. I will give them full kudos to that. I know that for a fact. So what they did here was they positioned the environment as the reason why the children possibly could not be deceased or could be deceased without saying it, like she was suggesting there. Okay. They said based on the conditions, that's how they entered into that space, to enter into this space with these people. That wasn't for the public. Yeah, it was put out into the public, okay? But behind the scenes, if everybody's talking, right, chit chat, okay, what do we got going here? I don't know, man. This just isn't fitting. Okay, then what's the reality based on the weather conditions, based on this other stuff that these children could be alive? Slim to none. Okay, tell me why. Give me why. weather last night, 31 degrees, child's in a diaper. Diaper probably would have frozen. Okay. Blah, blah, blah. And you just go down the list here, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So why is the backpack introduced into this conversation as an anomaly? A 6-year-old saying, okay, let's run away together, or let's walk out together with my little brother. Okay. And take the backpack, and I'll leave him in his diaper. Okay. Yeah. Is it possible? Of course, anything's possible. Is it probable? Probably not.
That's what I was saying too, because I know that abduction is one of those things where people, that people do think that they were abducted. I mean, the likelihood that they were abducted, while possible, it's pretty low on. It's pretty low based on the rural area, based on the timeline. I don't care what anybody says. The week or the days leading up to them going missing, I think is a red flag. Now I'm not casting blame on them because I don't know, but I do know that the information that is being given is so contradicting to basically what they're selling, and it seems as though the Canadian police feel the same way. So here's mother's interview.
I'm just staying as hopeful as possible. I want them home. I want to hold them. And I want them home. What happened was we woke up. I heard them playing in the next room beside us. And I was drifting in and out of sleep. And they're not the type of kids that we tell them not to go outside on their own. We always make sure that we're out there with them, watching them. And they happen to just get out that sliding door, and we can't hear it when it opens. And they
Chris, the sliding door, I believe, was closed when they got up. How do they know?
were outside playing, but we weren't aware of it at the time. And the next thing we knew, it was quiet.
Yeah. It's a problem. And what are we, 10 seconds, 15 seconds into this? Go back. Let's break this down real fast.
Do it.
I'm just staying as hopeful as possible. I want them home. I want to hold them.
She's staying as hopeful as possible. I want them home. Okay.
Yeah. And then you notice also how they throw in, we're always out there with them. When, I mean, I would like to think that's true, but I've seen the yard.
Okay. Go to we'll do
And I want them home.
Stop.
What happened?
I want them home. I want them home. Okay. So what happened was, she's going to tell us what happened. Okay. Go ahead.
What happened was we woke up. I heard them playing in the next room beside us.
We woke up. I heard them playing in the next room. Okay. So she's awake. Okay. I heard them playing in the next room. Next.
And I was drifting in and out of sleep. And they're not the type of kids that we tell.
And I was in and out of sleep. So she hears them. She's groggy. But then she qualifies the behavior of the children. They're not the type of children. And now she's going to set the play. To do what? Nobody asked. Nobody asked the question.
Correct. Nobody's asking that. Yeah.
She's presenting a scenario. And what's the scenario?
That she was asleep.
Let's
She
listen. Let's hear.
Tell
Let's
them
hear.
not to go outside if possible.
Okay.
I want them home. I want to hold them. And I want them home. What happened was we woke up. I heard them playing in the next room beside us. And I was drifting in and out of sleep. And
Okay,
they're
stop.
not the type.
They were in the next room beside us. So she's putting them within proximity of hearing them. And that means, see, I'm a good person. I was near them. Okay. So she's wanting to project that she is supervising her children, but then she interjects, but I'm in and out of sleep. So she's now kind of projecting out that she has to transfer that behavior because she has to come up with an idea of how they disappear. Okay. So in half of the sentence, she says, I'm a good person because they were next to us. And then the other half, she says, but I'm not really a great person because I was in and out of sleep. So she's not, most people would say they were in the other room playing. I think I was kind of groggy, but do you see where that would go?
Yeah.
Versus she's setting up like increments of thought process here. Keep moving.
For kids, we tell them not to go outside on their own. We always make sure that we're out there with them,
Okay, stop.
watching them.
So now, again, she projects that she protects them. I would tell them, don't go outside on your own. And they're not the type of kids that would do that.
Yeah, like, Summer's not the kind of, girl to go outside, on her own. And Sebastian's not the kind of kid to run away.
Right.
And,
And they happen to just get out that sliding door and we can't hear it when it opens.
And they happen to get out that sliding door.
I don't know how she would know that.
Well, not only that, okay, what's the time frame of they happen to get out that sliding door? I want to know from when you last heard them to this idea of they definitely know that you've had the talk, don't go out that door. Okay. Well, first of all, 4-year-olds don't comprehend, don't go out the door. Number one. So she's talking about one of the two children. That's the 6-year-old. Okay. That is Lily. Because, Jack, he's going to wake up, and if he can open that door, he's going to go play. That's what they do. Okay. So she's putting, I'm trying to think of the right word. She's putting mature boundaries out to the public that she is suggesting her children understood what boundaries were. Okay, that's what she's saying here in a roundabout way. Okay, go ahead.
Opens, and they were outside playing,
How
but
does she
we
know?
weren't aware of it.
They were outside playing. We were unaware of it. That doesn't make sense. How did you know they were playing? Well, we were unaware of it. Then why'd you say it?
Right.
Next.
At the time, and
At
the next thing we knew,
how were you unaware of something at the time?
I don't know.
Well, most people say they're gone. How do you know? They're gone. Well, why? I don't know. We heard them. I came out and they're gone. It's not, I hear a thump in the back bedroom and I wake up at 6 a.m. and he's gone. Or I wake up at 10 a.m. or whatever the time they were half awake, and they're gone. Keep going.
And we get up and I tell him, my partner, Daniel, I tell him, do you hear the kids? And he says, no. And we get up instantly.
We get up.
Instantly.
We get up. Remember, just before this, the kids were outside playing. We find out later, quote unquote. Okay. But we get up, and immediately the conversation is, have you seen the kids? She answers for him. He says no. Keep going.
We're looking outside. We're looking everywhere, yelling for them. And I instantly just call 911.
Stop. We're looking up outside. We're looking everywhere for them. And I instantly call 911.
Yeah, she does a lot of stuff instantly.
Well, that's because there's a space before there's a space in this story here. Instantly is a gap filler, for lack of a better term.
Well, you remember when Candace said, when Summer got out of the car, she said, yeah, and she jumped right up, like it was just jumped right. There's always some sort of filler instead of just like, if somebody were to ask me, like, you went to the pond or the river today, and I would say, yeah, my kids were really tired in the car, and we got home, and they got up and went to their room. I didn't see, yeah, they jumped right up. Like, they just jumped right up, and it just seems like there's so much filler. And that's what she's got.
I just had the instinct I needed to call. They're both really go-lucky children.
Go back.
They're so for them, and I instantly just call 911. I just had the instinct I needed to call. They're both really go-lucky children. They're so sweet. They talk to anyone. They'll talk your ear off. They will speak to anyone in a store. Everyone. They're just extremely sweet kids. I appreciate the huge search effort going on right now. But we've been pushing for an Amber Alert, which hasn't been issued. Not just that they could possibly be abducted, which it is a possibility that they could have been, but just an alert to let everyone know that they are missing.
You don't need an Amber Alert for that. I mean, look at the response that has been, I mean, you can see the huge response. I think that, the reason I think that she wants an Amber Alert is like that would suggest maybe something that doesn't point to them, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I'd stay right here.
You haven't left the trailer?
Not yet.
I had people text me saying that they weren't aware someone else let them know that they were missing, and it would just be nice if everyone could be alerted. We thought maybe that we found tracks, but
that in of itself is secondary behavior. Other people text me to basically tell me that, this is not the behavior of a mother right away that says, look, I woke up this morning and my kids are gone. What do you mean your kids are gone? What happened? I went to bed last night, 10 o'clock in the evening or whatever it was. The kids were in bed. I tucked them in. Jack had on his diaper. I had changed his diaper. It was a fresh diaper. Lily was in bed. And, I think at around 8:30, 8:15, I was half asleep. I heard him, in the other room. And, I went out immediately because I had an 18-month-old who is also waking up at about that time because he hears me moving. Where's that baby during all of this sleeping? Is the baby in the room with them? Does that baby have a separate room? Is that baby sleeping in a separate room? What's going on here? Because go ahead.
Chris, and not to cut you off, in all that is correct, but, and I agree with everything you said, but if somebody were to if your children went missing from a place that you were living at, and somebody told you to kick rocks and get off the property, you're going to have to the police are going to be the ones that are going to have to escort me off. Not because I'm a badass or anything like that, but because this is where my kids went missing. I'm not leaving.
Well, not only that, there's a descriptive feature to her children that other people find her children just adorable. They'll talk to anybody. They're the sweetest little kids, okay? They're this, they're that. But you're a mother with a 4-year-old who is awake.
I know.
In the other room.
I know.
And with a 6-year-old and an 18-month-old, but somehow your needs in that very moment are more important than these children. Now, that gap system, i.e. the thought process, just so it makes sense. Is it possible? Of course it's possible. It's possible. Is it probable? Probably improbable. Okay. There's something behind the scenes here. So what the investigators are probably doing is going through a heavy-duty victimology. They're getting into the nitty-gritty with the parents, or at least, they're told, I just lost you. I don't know where you went. So I'm talking to an avatar. Anyway,
I was yelling at Macho. Sorry, I didn't want you.
No, you're fine. I didn't know if your camera broke or
no. I'm not.
Everything that's going on here is like, yeah, they're the greatest kids. You would love them if you knew them too. Okay, but I just decided not to get out of bed. Well, okay. Tell me more about that. How often do you do that? Who has access to the children when you do that? Where's the uncle? Where's your boyfriend's brother when you do that? Where's the grandmother? Does she take over supervision? You've got all these fences out there, and you tell them don't go out and play, yet you have them contained in these fences. Okay. Why did you put the fence up? Tell me about the fort out there. When do they go to the fort? If they go to the fort, who goes to that fort? Who built that fort? And you all of a sudden hear all these gaps that appear and show up. And within 2 days or a day, how often or how long did it take her to disappear?
Not very long. A day or two, couple days.
Okay. And she's out of the picture.
I believe so. Let me play this from the beginning. I got to calm my dog down really fast, so I'll be right back.
I'm just staying as hopeful as possible. I want them home. I want to hold them. And I want them home. What happened was we woke up. I heard them playing in the next room beside us. And I was drifting in and out of sleep. And they're not the type of kids we tell them not to go outside on their own. We always make sure that we're out there with them, watching them. And they happen to just get out that sliding door, and we can't hear it when it opens. And they were outside playing, but we weren't aware of it at the time. And the next thing we knew, it was quiet. And we get up, and I tell him, my partner, Daniel, I tell him, do you hear the kids? And he says, no. And we get up instantly. We're looking outside. We're looking everywhere, yelling for them. And I instantly just call 911. I just had the instinct I needed to call. They're both really go-lucky children. They're so sweet. They talk to anyone. they'll talk your ear off. They will speak to anyone in a store. Everyone. They're just extremely sweet kids. I appreciate the huge search effort going on right now. But we've been pushing for an Amber Alert, which hasn't been issued. Not just that they could possibly be abducted, which it is a possibility that they could have been, but just an alert to let everyone know that they are missing. We had people text me saying that they weren't aware, someone else let them know that they were missing, and it would just be nice if everyone could be alerted. We thought maybe that we found tracks, but it's still uncertain. It's been raining and they're probably soaking wet, but with the sun today, I'm hopeful that they are feeling warm. We're all filled with pain and sorrow.
Could somebody tell me how long after this, or when this interview was, how long after she left?
Oral, because we just want them found. We want them home.
Hey, Chris, remember when, you had young kids rolling around the living room on a Saturday morning or whatever? You had to get up pretty early, didn't you?
Yeah, cartoons.
Sucks, doesn't it, sometimes?
It's part of parenting.
That's all right. I remember that I used to think, especially when because Peyton's night and days were like mixed up for a really long time. They still kind of are. Don't tell him I said that. But I used to think I'm never, ever going to get normal sleep ever again.
Yeah. So let's go back to real fast. I didn't mean to
not at all
interrupt. Let's go back to the slider. This is going to be the key. Go back to the slider comment.
In and out of sleep, and they're not the type of kids that we tell them not to go outside on their own. We always.
What's that?
I want to hear it one more time for a minute.
Make sure that we're out there with them, watching them, and they happen to just get.
What's that?
A little bit further back than that.
I heard them playing in the next room beside us, and I was drifting in and out of sleep, and they're not the type of kids that we tell them not to go outside on their own. We always make sure that we're out there with them, watching them.
Okay, this is what... Sorry. Okay, so this, you have to listen very carefully. It's almost like a call and repeat. Okay. There's a positive behavior and a negative behavior. There's a positive behavior and a negative behavior. You're going to see a pattern within a minute to 2 minutes. Okay. Let's go back for a minute. Got to hear this one more time. Okay.
And I want them home. What happened was we woke up, I heard them playing in the next room beside us, and I was drifting.
She starts with the result. Okay. And then she's going to give a plus minus. Okay. That this is her pattern. What's the result? I want them home. Okay. Now, plus minus. Let's listen to this real fast. Go ahead.
I want to hold them, and I want them home. What happened was we woke up, I heard them playing in the next room beside us, and I was drifting in and out of sleep, and they're not the type of kids that we tell them not to go outside on their own. We always make sure that we're out there with them, watching them.
Plus. We're always outside watching them. That's a plus. Go ahead.
And they happen to just get out that sliding door, and
minus.
we can't.
Go ahead.
They just so happen.
I hear it when it opens. And they were outside playing.
Minus. They happen to get outside that door. You can't hear it when it opens. Okay. You see that there's a huge hole there. You could drive a truck through it. Okay. Keep going.
Aware of it at the time, and the next thing we knew,
Plus,
like
we weren't aware of it at the time.
it was quiet,
Minus.
and we get up, and I tell him, my partner Daniel, I tell him, "Do you hear the kids?" And he says, "No." And
Minus.
we get up instantly. We're looking
Plus.
outside. We're looking
get up there,
everywhere,
yeah.
yelling for them, and I instantly just call 911. As just
Minus.
Well, she
I just had the
instantly calls
instinct I needed
911.
to call.
That's
again?
unsolicited information. Go ahead.
They're
But-
both really go-lucky children.
Plus,
They're so sweet. They talk to anyone. They'll talk your ear off. They will speak to anyone in a store. Everyone.
minus, because she's projecting that the children will do something.
They'll just walk up to a stranger and get them done.
She opens a door for possibilities. Keep going.
They're just extremely sweet kids. I appreciate
Plus,
the huge search effort going on right now, but we've been pushing for an Amber
Minus.
Alert, which hasn't been
it's somebody
issued.
else's fault.
Say that again.
It's somebody else's fault.
Correct.
Not
Because
just-
we've been pushing for an Amber Alert.
That hasn't.
that they could possibly be abducted, which it is a possibility that they could have been, but just an
Stop.
alert to
That is a plus minus plus. Okay. Is it a possibility of probably not? Well, yeah, it could be. Okay, you see where I'm at there?
She qualified her, they could have possibly been abducted, which it is and she reinforces that, like you said, she reinforces it, but it is a possibility. Like,
let everyone know. Issued
Plus,
search up
let everybody
going on
know.
right now, but we've been pushing for an Amber Alert, which hasn't been issued.
Minus.
Not just that they could possibly be abducted, which it is a possibility that they could have been, but just an alert to let everyone know that they are missing. We had people text me saying that they weren't aware, someone else let them know that they were missing, and it would just be nice if everyone could be alerted. We thought maybe that we found tracks, but it's
Plus.
still uncertain. It's been raining
Minus.
and they're probably soaking wet, but with the sun today, I'm hopeful
Plus,
that they are feeling warm. We're all filled with pain and sorrow because
minus,
we just want them found. We want them home.
plus,
Everyone loves them. They are definitely
everyone loves them.
verbal, and
go back.
They do
I
have-
missed that part.
Did you say that again?
Go back to I missed that.
as they're probably missing, and it would just be nice if everyone could be alerted. We thought maybe that we found tracks, but it's still uncertain. It's been raining and they're probably soaking wet, but with the sun today, I'm hopeful that they are feeling warm. We're all filled with
Okay,
pain
stop.
and sorrow.
With the sun today, I'm hopeful they are feeling warm. Go back.
Because they know that they were missing, and it would just be nice if everyone could be alerted. We thought maybe that we found tracks, but it's still uncertain. It's been raining and they're probably soaking wet, but with the sun today, I'm hopeful that they are feeling warm. We're all filled with pain and
Stop.
sorrow.
Okay. That is a maternal instinct of separation. Okay. So now the question is, why does she feel, why is she feeling this not to the point where it's a suffering? Rather, it's just a statement of impulse. It's sunny today, so I'm hope they feel warm. Okay. Which is almost really, really, really weird. But actually it's indicative of deception. Okay, because she's projecting her maternal instinct of a mother to protect, and she knows she hasn't done that in this situation and in this particular statement.
And Brandy and Indy, it's Canadian. That's how they say sorrow. You know, they say that's just the Canadian accent.
Because we just want them found. We want them home.
Plus,
everyone loves them. They are definitely verbal, and they do have possible autism, but it's not extreme autism. It's just they have
these children have, from what I understand, these children have not been diagnosed with anything. Jack and Lily have not been.
Well, that's why she uses the word possible.
Yeah.
A mother knows.
Sure.
Use with school, and
so part of me feels like she's just throwing it to whatever is going to stick to the wall.
They don't catch up with the other kids. I just
It-
want to
it's
remain
a pattern. It is a pattern. It's that every time she gives a plus, she gives a minus.
Right.
She gives a plus, she gives a minus. And
Correct.
it's through this whole statement. So now, as an investigator, what you would want to do is you want to map those out. Okay. Before you interview this mom a second time, you want to know what her pluses were and what her minuses were. And then you want to start over here in the minus column. Okay. And you would want to say, Malaya, is that how you pronounce her name?
I believe it's, Malaya. Yeah.
Okay. Malaya, let's talk, tell me a little bit about, Lily. Okay. And let her talk. And then you want to follow that with, okay, well, you mentioned they're not the kids, or you didn't hear the door open, the slider. Oh, yeah, no, I didn't. Okay, well, help me understand that. And you take them down you take them down the negative column, the minuses, and you walk them through it. And you can already see her starting to get emotional.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And if they're going to put an interviewer in with her, if she's not watching our show tonight, okay, and if you are watching, Malaya, then you need to tell whatever more information is available to the authorities. Your children deserve it.
I 100% agree.
full. But there's always, in a mother's mind, you're always thinking the worst.
Right.
Last night was one of the worst nights because I didn't have them in their beds. And I don't want to go through that another night without them.
It was one of the worst nights because she didn't have them in their bed. Okay. So that was a bad night. Okay, fair enough. But in the morning, when they were out of bed, she didn't get out of bed. So I would turn that on her and say, well, how did your children feel with you sleeping? You had an emotional response when they weren't in their bed. What kind of emotional response did they have when mommy was in bed and didn't want to get out? And if it's true, you'll see that response. If it's not, okay, then you'll see that response as well. And this is where, when Candace and I were at the water's edge, and I said to her, Candace, when she was saying, God is mad at me, okay, and remember, she had that emotional breakdown. She was really there, right? And empathy is 90% of folks will empathize with somebody that's listening to their story. And that's what mom needs here. Mom just needs somebody to listen to her story and put it out there. Because what she's doing is she's transferring her worst night, i.e., the children weren't in bed, and she's measuring that against potentially some jeopardy. Yeah, she was looking for an absolution if she would confess it's right. Yeah, she is. And I think with this woman, at some point, we're going to wake up. Who was the one that put her kid into the landfill in Georgia?
Leilani Simon.
This is Leilani.
This is from today, the latest article, and we will have to talk about Cobberger another time. But
what's this say?
RCMP interviewing people closest to two children missing from a rural Nova Scotia community. Halifax, Nova Scotia, RCMP says family members of two missing children are among those identified for formal interviews as police investigate the siblings' disappearance. 6-year-old Lily Sullivan and 4-year-old Jack Sullivan were reported missing on May 2nd from their residence in Lansdowne Station, Nova Scotia, about 140 kilometers northeast of Halifax. Police scaled back a ground search last week, saying it was unlikely the children were still alive if they had wandered into the densely wooded area surrounding their rural residence. In a release Tuesday, Staff Sergeant Curtis McKinnon said that the Pictou County District RCMP were in their 11th day of investigating the case, and that officers were working day and night on this file. More than 180 tips have been received from the public, and officers have identified 35 people to formally interview, McKinnon said, adding that those people included community members and those closest to the children. We're exploring all avenues in this missing persons investigation, McKinnon said. We have officers from multiple disciplines dedicated to finding Lily and Jack, including highly trained RCMP major crime and forensic investigators. Like all Nova Scotians, we want answers and we want to know what happened to these children. In a follow-up statement, the RCMP confirmed that the family members were among those being interviewed for the investigation, adding that questioning relatives was standard for a missing children's case. Daniel Robert Martel, who has described himself as the missing children's stepfather, told the Canadian press on May 7th that he voluntarily attended a 4-hour interview with Major Crimes Investigation the day prior, and he submitted his smartphone to the police for examination. Quote,
don't be fooled by that.
I've been thinking that too, because I hear a lot of people saying that well, he's submitted to a he wants to take a polygraph, he wants to give a drug test, he's given, he doesn't really have much of a choice.
Well, Stefan Starnes handed him his phone.
Yeah, how'd that go for him, right?
35,000 images later.
Correct.
Next.
Exactly correct. Quote, I've been 100% cooperating. I gave them my phone. I offered a drug test. I offered them a lie detector test. I've offered them everything, he said in the interview. And early in an interview on May 5th, he said he said he and the children's mother, Malaya Brooks Murray, had been together for more than 2 years and moved into the trailer in the community about 2 years ago. He has said he and Brooks Murray had a 16-month-old infant, Meadow. Martel has said he was in the bedroom with his partner and their baby when he last saw Lily and Jack on the morning of May 2nd.
Which is different than what Mom said. Mom said they were both in there together sleeping. And she says to him, did you see the children?
Correct.
So that's different. Either the reporter's wrong or the parents are wrong. Somebody's wrong.
Somebody's got their stories crossed. And I would assume that it's probably the parents, but
I don't know.
I don't either. but that's just me assuming. Martell has said he was in the bedroom with his partner and their baby. Okay. Minutes later, he heard the sliding door that leads onto the backyard open and close. They said before that they did not hear this door. Now he's
not only that, she poked her head in
their story's evolving.
the door of their bedroom.
The story's evolving.
Right. Which remember.
It's typical. Yeah.
We've talked about that 1,000 times. Right. And now he's the one, right? He recalled that Lily was wearing a pink top. She had poked her head in the door of their bedroom prior to departing. Hey, Mom. Hey, Dad, or stepdad, whatever you are. Just let you know, we're departing now. Okay. Minutes later, he heard the sliding door that leads onto the backyard and open and close. Now, Mom, did you hear the kids? Have you seen the kids? No. I didn't
hear them.
Did you hear them?
He didn't.
No. But I'm going to tell the news. I heard the door open and close, and she poked her head in. I guess. I don't know, unless it's bad reporting.
Which is possible.
Sure. Martella estimated within a few minutes, he went out to find the children. Now, that contradicts what the mother says, because Mom says, well, again, they don't go, they're not the kind of kids that do that go out. And it looks like the whole yard is fenced in. Okay, that if they went out, then somebody's going to know they're back there. You would think. I don't know.
Right.
But finish what you were reading. I'm sorry.
No, it's
minutes later.
That's what you're here for. Minutes later, heard the sliding door that leads onto the backyard open and close. Martella estimated within a few minutes, he set out to find the children, driving his vehicle on the back roads and looking in culverts for them without success.
Okay, stop. Let's go to the yard. Let's go to the pictures of the house.
Yep.
Let's go to the slider. Okay, they go out the back porch. They're on the back porch. All right. So, whoops, whatever we need to do. All right. So
that's the door in question.
Okay. They're on the back porch, right? That's the slider allegedly. Okay, so let's look for ways a 4 and a 6-year-old can get out of that backyard. Is there a way we can do that?
What was the question? I'm sorry.
Let's look for ways a 4 and a 6-year-old can get out of that backyard.
Sure. Well, I would say here.
What is there? What is that?
So there's little gaps in the fence here.
There is a gap in the fence there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's some open spots in that fence.
We know that for sure. Is there a better picture somewhere?
So that one's pretty locked.
One's secured.
Yeah, that one's secured. I mean, if you look here, you can see where the fencing, maybe the shadows, but then
but there's another fence line in to the right of that, isn't there? That. Whoops.
I'm not sure.
Are there any other pictures online that would show that would tell us that?
Let me look.
I don't know. That looks like a straight fence, but you're right. Down at the bottom, though, it looks like there's another piece of wood going across to the house out the top on the left side.
Yeah.
But I can't tell. Can anybody tell us if that's, there you go.
To me, it looks like there are some gaps, but I mean, it's impossible to really tell.
So are the parents suggesting they go out the slider and within a couple of minutes, quote unquote, the kids just disappear?
Yeah, and then he got up to go find them. And pretty much, let me see. Hold on, let me read this here. So he said that
Mohawk
he was in the bed, he was in the bedroom with his partner, and on the morning of May 2nd, he recalled that Lily was wearing a pink top when she had poked her head in the door of their bedroom. Prior to departing, minutes later, he heard the sliding door that leads onto the backyard open and close. Martel estimated within a few minutes, he set out to find the children driving his vehicle.
Okay, why does he need to get in a vehicle?
Well, I don't know. I mean, that's a great question because I don't know if they had been just a few minutes. I mean, obviously they wouldn't be that far. Now to even wait a few minutes, if you don't allow the children to go outside on their own, even a few minutes seems like an awful long time to wait to go out and get them.
What's the temperature in the morning up there? Anybody from Nova Scotia PEI?
It's a great question.
What's the temperature at 10 o'clock in the morning on that day?
It's a great question. Anybody know what the temperature is out there? I'm trying to, let me see if I can pull it up. So right now, it's 37 degrees outside, and that's at night. But
okay, but we want to know at the same time, because when she pokes her head around in the pink top, it's not the backpack. Wasn't it a pink backpack?
Pink backpack, correct. Yeah.
But he says here it's a pink top in the newspaper article.
Possibly in the 30s. I mean, if it's in the 30s or the 40s, I mean, that's absolutely freezing.
Well, it's cold for a 6-year-old.
It's cold
to peek around and let her know that, hey, by the way, we're here.
Hey, let's go outside. It's freezing.
With my brother.
With my little brother.
My 4-year-old brother. How's he dressed? In a diaper?
Yeah, I don't think they say, do they?
Huh?
I don't think they say how he was dressed, do they?
So there's a white backpack with strawberries. Who introduced that into the conversation? Do we know, guys?
I believe he did.
White backpack with strawberries.
Yeah, I believe the stepfather did. I believe he's the one that introduced it.
So there is a backpack.
Yeah.
And there's a pink top. And so is the inference here? Are you guys getting the inference with who have a lot more information? Are you guys getting the inference that he's projecting that she's going on like a little trip here? Or is she going to play in the backyard?
Personally, that's kind of what I think that he is saying. But I don't know. I think that he's making it seem like they went on a hike or something. Nobody ever told the kids they couldn't go out alone. That's what the mother said. But in this article, no, the mother didn't say that, did she?
Both had rubber boots. True Girl says too.
Correct. That's true. But
so, okay. So if I'm understanding this, it sounds like, is there a description of what the 4-year-old was wearing?
No, not that I know of. Does anybody know? I looked, but I didn't see. And by the way, who was it that I'm pretty sure that they said that no, they weren't allowed to go outside and play. It would be, I mean, it would be really cold out there. All he said was Jack had a pull up on. Yeah. That's all I know about it. Was an orange shirt today. It was a brown shirt and brown pants. Okay.
Okay. So it's evolving.
Dinosaur boots and pull up. Yeah. All right. Let me keep going here.
See right there. He recalled Lily was wearing a pink top and she poked her head around.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is day 11. You know, they've had some time to sift through whatever, I guess. Martell. Okay. So Brooks Murray left the home the day after the search began, ending communication with Martell, and has been staying with her mother in Wentworth, Nova Scotia. So the two are not talking anymore. She actually updated her Facebook page to single while this was going on, by the way. RCMP have said that on May 2nd, at approximately 10 a.m., they received a report that the children were missing. And at the same time, they said they believe the siblings had wandered away from their home on Gairloch Road. The ground search, involving up to 160 trained volunteers, was scaled back May 7th after covering 5.5 square kilometers of heavily wooded rural terrain. This report by the Canadian Press was first published May 13th, 2025. So that's today. So that's really, I mean,
it's a no-brainer. Stay with the house. Stay with the mom or the stepdad and the mom and the other family members for now. And that sounds like that's what they're doing. They're flushing that out.
Yep.
Somebody's going to crack.
I think so.
And there will be a report where they'll have a press conference and they'll say, you know, unfortunately, we have discovered the bodies of Lily and Jack. You know, if that's, you know, that's obviously worst case scenario. Let's hope. But at this point, you know, even the authorities are going, hey,
we don't think they're alive.
There's more here in River City, and we need to get down to business before it gets too late and gets away from us.
Chris.
Josh.
Thank you.
You're the best.
Thank you for being here. Appreciate it. Everybody appreciates it. You get some sleep, my friend, and we'll check back in on this you know, when there's further updates.
Yeah, and there's a lot more on the Cobberger stuff that we know about that was not pushed out. A lot of people have asked about, and I'm just going to give you one little tidbit here.
Sure.
About Ethan. And there's a high probability that the cutting on him was post-mortem. And so that's more towards experimentation. And typically somebody that will do that is on the road to discovery. And the Ted Bundy connection is much deeper than what people realize.
And there's always sort of been that kind of inference of Bundy through location and people that have been involved with him. But like you're correct, it's so much deeper. And if you want, and I would, if you're interested in that case, please go watch the Dateline because Cobberger loves to Google Ted Bundy. That is his guy.
Yeah, that's definitely his primary guy. Okay.
Yes.
But he was into others of that, you know, liking. Okay. However, the difference is, you know, the Son of Sam and others, right, other serial killers that he was exploring. And, you know, people are going to say, And rightfully so. People go, well, of course, he was a criminology student. Why wouldn't he? Why wouldn't he do that? Okay, well, yeah, that's always something that can be discussed, right? Of course it can be discussed.
Right.
However, when you have literally hundreds of pictures of Ted Bundy on your phone, and you watch a movie about him, and then you dress up in cosplay in the exact same type of hoodie and all this other stuff and take a picture. Okay. I don't know very many criminology students that are dressing up like the serial killers or stuff.
I mean, that's you don't become one of a student of that because you you overly admire these people and want to be like them.
Well, first of all, if you show up in class looking like Ted Bundy, okay, then don't you think that should be a huge red flag to everybody else in that class that go, hey, dude, you're kind of looking like Charles Manson today. Well, how do you know? Because I have a swastika in the middle of my forehead today.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Oh, wow. You must be a criminology student. Yeah, I'm a criminology. I'm studying Manson, so I'm going to relive the role here. Okay. So this, unfortunately, it's not looking good for Ted, i.e., Brian.
Yeah. No, it doesn't look good for him at all. And I will tell you this. Yeah, we should we'll do a show about it. I know that, and please go over to the interview room. We had about 2,400 people watching tonight, and thank you guys so much. Go over to the interview room and put the link in the chat, mods, if you would, please. Thank you guys. Go check out the coverage it's the best coverage on YouTube. I mean, it really is. And
nice.
They're plucking your guys off of your show to put on Dateline, and to me that's a compliment of the caliber of guests that you have. Dr. Gary was great. Coop, always great. I mean, so smart and on the ball. They're both sharp as tack. So
yeah. And intellectually, you're right. Brian Cobberger is not of a TB. He's not there.
No.
However, he is as cunning. But Bundy was charming. Cobberger's weird.
Yeah, Bundy was a chameleon.
He was a charmer.
And he was good at it. And Cobberger, everybody was like, it sounds like his own family was suspicious of him.
The whole thing is going to come around. We're going to see what's going to happen on the 16th. There's a special hearing coming up, and let's see what goes down on that thing. I think Ann Taylor's going to play there's another accomplice, and the judge is going to say, okay, fine. Who is he? Where is he? And why is he?
Yeah.
And the authorities need to chase this down if they haven't already. If not, it's another nothing burger. Remember, he was supposed to provide an alibi.
He did. Remember?
No, all he did was say, I went to the park.
He was stargazing.
Yeah, it just happened to be the same park that there was a girl found that they thought Bundy had done. And he was asked about it before they executed him.
You remember the show that we did about that? It was me, you, John, Dr. Gary. And we were all wearing sunglasses, and Dr. Gary said that he didn't have any to wear, I believe that sort of, but I also don't think if he had any, he was going to put any on. He did not want to wear the sunglasses.
Yeah, he's funny. All right, bro, I'll let you run. Thank you
so much. I appreciate it.
See you, man.
Bye.
Good night, everybody. Good night, Lab Rats. You're the best.
All right.
Hit the subscribe button for Josh.
Thank you. All right. Well, there it was, guys. I appreciate Chris taking his time, a little over 2 hours, and I think that kind of just insight is invaluable. And the fact that he would spend 2 hours with us is pretty amazing. So once again, thank you. Let me make sure. In the first minute the mom talks, she says it. Okay. Well, I mean, it would make sense because they have the fence. So I mean, I understand that. Mary's pop says, "Hey bud, great show. You're a good kid. I appreciate it. I haven't been called a kid in a while." All right, guys. Well, I appreciate it so much. Thank you so much for being here. You guys are always the best, and we will catch you on the next one. All right. I wanted to say, think about you a lot, and I'm praying for you. Chat Randall, thank you so much as well for gifting those. Chat Randall, I got Ray Coach, remember for 19 months. Yeah, maybe you haven't been around for a while, but thank you. Back on track, I appreciate that. Lulu, great show, bro. Good. And keep up the cover. When there's more to cover on it, we will. I think that's an insult.